What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 12th Doctor Peter Capaldi story, Into the Dalek. This is the second story, the second episode of series 8, sorry. And yeah, it's Peter Capaldi's second ever episode, so he's pretty new to the role still at this point. And it's the first Dalek story of his era as well, so a lot of stuff going on here, definitely, and you've got the whole more moral thing that kind of creeps up in this one of, is he a good man? You've got that whole thing playing off in this episode too, so there's a lot going on here for only his second episode. Anyway, let's get started with the cast. Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor is really good. I mean, he kind of knocks it out of the park from the get-go. He's a little bit too mean in this one, and that's not a thing for Peter Capaldi, that's for the character. They kind of went down this darker side for the 8th Doctor in this series. Definitely, at times, he was quite dark. And in this episode especially, he is very dark. He really is, you know, some of the stuff he says to some of the characters, he just doesn't really show a lot of sympathy. And it's annoying, and I don't think it really fits with the character, but it kind of grows over the series and builds up kind of the series arc in a way. Of some sorts, you know, like a plot thread of the series. So for that, it doesn't really bother me too much, but yeah, it is quite hard seeing him like this be, you know, an absolute dick. And, you know, the Doctor can be a dick sometimes, but not really notice it, or, you know, just with how he is. But here, it kind of feels like he just is being a dick, and yeah, it doesn't really sit right with me sometimes, but generally though, Peter Capaldi's performance is on top form. Jenna Coleman as Clara Oswald is okay here. She's okay. Yeah, you may know Clara's not one of my favourite companions. I think at times she can be way too over the top and too bossy and too kind of, just, you know, a bit of a bitch, really. And then other times she's just kind of there, and she has her good moments here and there. I think this is very much just kind of one of her middle-of-the-road, average sort of episodes for her. She does have some moments in this one with Danny Pink that I think comes across a bit. She comes across really rude to Danny at some points, even to the Doctor, but however not as much for the Doctor, because I think the Doctor was being a bit of a dick and she's kind of playing off that, so that I don't mind as much. But the stuff that she says to Danny about the soldiering and that, I think it's just really rude, and she's like, oh, it's just a joke, but it doesn't sound like it's not a very good joke. And yeah, but I mean, yeah, she's fine. Alright, so let's get on to the good and the bad, starting with the good. Getting shrunk down and put inside a Dalek. What a concept for an episode, let me just say that. Now, I think this episode has a lot of similarities in a way with the episode Dalek from Series 1. It is a Dalek somewhat turning good. I mean, in Dalek it didn't really turn good. It wouldn't kill Rose, and towards the very end it kind of turned good, and then it decided, no, I can't be a good Dalek, so I'm going to kill myself. But throughout the episode it was still just killing people relentlessly, it just wasn't really killing Rose. However, with this one, I mean, the Dalek's kind of good at the start when it's, you know, powerless. I mean, it can't do anything. But then the Doctor and all the soldiers and Clara go inside, they fix it, then it becomes evil again, but then the Doctor shows it kind of, you know, life and the beauty of the world, and then it kind of turns good at the end. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing, just the whole, I mean, if we're just talking about the shrinking thing, it's getting shrunk down and put inside a Dalek, and the fact that the Doctor's like, this is the most terrifying place in the universe. It's, yeah, the most dangerous place in the universe. It's just, well, actually, I think at one point he's like, you know what, I was wrong. This is worse than the most dangerous place in the universe. Which, yeah, it's pretty crazy, because he realizes that, you know, there's all the radiation in that, and yeah, generally, I think the whole shrinking down, putting into a Dalek, it's a really interesting concept. The robots inside the Dalek that kill if the Dalek is harmed, so like the antibody kind of robot things, they're a similar sort of thing to the antibody, I think they even call them antibodies, in, what's it called, Let's Kill Hitler, terrible episode from Series 6, I hate it. Can't wait until we get to review that one. Or, well, I can. But yeah, there's kind of these things, when you harm the Dalek, they come and they kill you. And I think they're pretty cool. They're a little bit, you know, like I said, they're very similar to that thing from Let's Kill Hitler with the Tesseract. Very similar. But, yeah, they're there. You know, it adds a bit more danger in there as well. So, yeah, I think they're a nice little addition. You've got the Dalek turns bad once it's fixed. So like I mentioned this just before, and I kind of went off a bit off a bit of a tangent with that first point. Once the Doctor fixes up kind of the radiation leak that's in the Dalek that's kind of making it go crazy, it then is all fixed and is back to just being a Dalek and wanting to kill everything. And yeah, kind of saw it coming, and the Doctor kind of also saw it coming. And I love the conversations between like Clara and the Doctor and the soldiers, like Journey and that, when he's kind of intrigued. He's like, well, now we know that there can't be a good Dalek, and he's somewhat happy with himself. He's like, see, I told you there can't be a good Dalek. And Clara's just like, you're just doing this, you've just done this to prove a point. We're all gonna die and you're just here to prove a point. And I really like that, and this is what this Doctor's kind of like. He's a bit different to the Matt Smith and David Tennant, and maybe a little bit more, no, not really like the Christopher Eccleston Doctor either, the Ninth Doctor. He's very different to the others, where he's here to prove a point. There can't be a good Dalek, there isn't a good Dalek, I've showed that to you now, we're all gonna die, but hey, at least we learned something. And it's a really interesting dynamic between him and especially Clara in that scene. But yeah, really cool stuff. My final point for the good is the Doctor getting into the Dalek's mind and seeing its hatred of, well, seeing his hatred of the Daleks. So the Doctor kind of taps into the Dalek's mind, and he's like, see what I see. He tries to show him the, you know, the sun being born, the star being born, and he sees that, and he sees all the beauty in the universe, and the Doctor's like, yes, this is what you've got to see. See all the beauty, see everything. You don't need to go around killing everything. But then he taps into a different part of the Doctor's mind. He taps into the Doctor's hatred for the Daleks. And he's like, the Dalek's like, you've got hatred for the Daleks? I see why you've got a hatred for the Daleks. They're they're assholes, basically. So now I hate the Daleks, and I'm going to go and kill all the Daleks. And the Doctor is not happy with that, because as much as I'm sure he'd love to see the Daleks just go and never have to bother with them again, the fact is, this is a moral thing for him, and it kind of ties into the whole, am I a good man? Because the Dalek, instead of kind of saw past the Doctor's beauty of the universe and all that sort of stuff, and instead tapped onto his hatred, his hate of the Daleks. That's what the Dalek decided to go for. And that really hurts the Doctor. He's just really not happy about that, because in that moment I think he's kind of like, you know what, that whole am I a good man thing, I really don't know. I really don't know if I am, because if that's what, you know, if that's what is kind of the strongest emotion that this Dalek can get out of me, then what am I, you know? And it's a really interesting dilemma, and I love, it's honestly like my favorite part of the story. The whole scene where he's, you know, talking with the Dalek and the Dalek sees his hatred, that's my favorite scene in this episode. I love it, and it honestly makes the episode for me. The rest of it's kind of average, but that whole scene, just the moral dilemmas of everything, and it's just really interesting and well done. Yeah. So on to the bad. There are 2 points I've got to talk about here. Both of them are pretty similar, but for 2 different characters. The first of all is the Doctor is a dick to Journey. When Journey Blue at the start, you know, the Doctor saves her from her exploding ship, but he doesn't save her brother. Why he couldn't save them both, I don't really know, but that's not really talked upon. But he saves her, and she's, you know, I mean, yeah, she's not very sympathetic of the fact that she's just been saved, but at the same time, her brother has just blown up and died, and the way the Doctor reacts to it, it's really annoying. He just comes off as such a dick. And like I said, it's not a really bad point for me, because it does tie into the whole am I a good man thing, which is kind of the theme of this episode. So for that, I'm all for it, and it's okay, but I still can't get around the fact that he is a bit too much of a dick here. Like, he's just like, oh, I just saved your life, this is how you're going to repay me? Oh, your stupid brother, he's dead. It's like, that, you can't talk like that. You just can't. And I do find that a bit annoying. And then the other thing is, Clara is really rude to Danny about him being a soldier. I mentioned this before. Just really kind of, when she's like, oh, when she kind of first meets up with him again, she's like, oh, you were doing the whole soldiery thing in the, with the kids, and he's like, oh yeah, just a little bit of fun. And she was like, oh, a bit of fun shooting people. And just like, oof, I think you took it a bit too far, darling. I think you took it just a tidsy bit too far there. Yeah, just, no. But yeah, that is Into the Dalek. That's my review of it. So, a rating out of 10. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, which is maybe a little bit higher than some people would give it. Now, I'll be honest, the majority of the story is pretty average, kind of 7.5 out of 10 territory for me. I like the concept of getting shrunk down and into a Dalek especially. Is crazy. The Doctor going inside his biggest enemy is a great concept, and it's done pretty well here. Some of the characters are a little bit forgettable, apart from Journey and her uncle. They're the only two kind of decent characters that you get to know in this story. The other two soldiers that die, you get to know the second one a little bit more, but neither of them you really care for that much. Yeah, I just love the whole thing with the Doctor and the Dalek at the end. I think that's just really interesting, and the whole good man thing really sets off in this story, and yeah, it's just a really interesting concept. But there are a couple of things like, you know, the Doctor being a bit of a dick and Clara being a bit of a dick that, you know, they drag it down a bit, and generally just, apart from the whole shrinking down and the, you know, the Doctor and the Dalek thing, it's a fairly kind of steady going story for a Dalek story. But yeah, an 8 out of 10, I think it's definitely a solid one. So now it's time to pick out our next episode that we'll be reviewing for the Doctor Who new series reviews. Alright then, so yeah, we've got the TARDIS of all the episodes from Rose all the way to Twice Upon a Time. Give it a bit of a shake. Now, I've decided that maybe if we get another Capaldi here, I might do it. I think I'll do the rule from now on that I can do 2 of each Doctor in a row. Like if I get 2 Capaldis in a row, I'll do them both, but then if I get a third one, I'll redraw it. So if we get another Capaldi here, I'm going to stick with it. However, something else would be nice, but honestly I'm not really too bothered of what we get. I'm going to really delve deep in there, and I'm just going to grab whatever this is. Oh, I've just let go of it. I think I've grabbed another one now, that's fine. We just got to grab one. There's many spewing out, but this is the one right here that we're going to be using. So, our next Doctor Who review is A Town Called Mercy. Okay, another Series 7 episode. Actually, no, we haven't had a Series 7 episode, have we? We've had a Series 6 and Day of the Doctor, which is kind of a Series 7 episode, but not really. So, another Matt Smith one. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of Matt Smith, I think, because he's basically got 2 series which are almost all single parts. There is quite a few more 11th Doctor stories, I think, than anything else. So, that's why I was thinking maybe we do this 2 of the same Doctor thing. So, if we get a Matt Smith after A Town Called Mercy, we'll do that one, but then if we get another one, we won't. So, yep, next Doctor Who review in a few weeks' time, whenever I get round to it, whenever it comes around, is A Town Called Mercy. So, look forward to that. It's an episode that I actually quite like, that I think I like a lot more than other people do. So, be interesting to watch that one with kind of a review head-on, I suppose, analytical view of it. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Go into the description. My Twitter is there. I said that really weirdly. Anyway, Twitter, link, description. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.